Welcome back to Footy Classified. It is that time of the year where the talk about the draft starts to gear up. And I think with the compromise drafts that have come into the game in recent times, Lordo, it is worth asking the question, if and when the AFL starts redoing these drafts, do they need to change the rules when it comes to father-sons, when it comes to next-gen academies?
Yeah, there's no doubt it has to be looked at, and I think the game needs to be harder on it. What gave me the idea around was, Ashcroft's and what they're going to do and Fletcher for the Brisbane Lions, and the Dacos is what they're doing for Koning, and they're 1 and 2 on the ladder. These are father-sons by the last decade, and some may say, well, that's not too big a discrepancy, but you look at the Giants and the Suns and the Eagles and how tough it is for those clubs. But we're about to go through to a draft which is the most compromised draft we've ever seen. So some are saying of the 60 selections, up to 30 could already be going to a club.
Half the draft.
So I think we've lost our aura. I used to love tuning into the draft and going, I wonder where he's going to go. I mean, at the moment we're saying there's a boy by the name of Duff Tyler who's probably the only player in the first 7 or 8 or 10
who's not aligned
to a club, and I reckon it's lost its pizzazz, the draft, because of that.
That's a great point.
And there's just people who might have been at a place for a minute, or lived in a place for a certain time, and they somehow can be hooked into a club for that reason. I just think it's gone way too far,
Look, the romance attached to the father-son will mean that it's always there. The academies, I think, have really compromised the whole problem, and they're almost brought in to allow the clubs that didn't have traditional access to father-son players with these new expansion teams. But you're right though, Lordo, with the heightened focus on this. The last winners of the last 2 premierships have benefited greatly from immediate access to father-sons in Ashcrofts and Dacos.
What's your take on this, Jimmy, given the time you spent at the Giants?
I think we need academies because it's actually flushing out some really good talent. So we're having great talent, but I think we all agree if we get the right bidding or the fair value that you actually get that player for. So as long as, when the player enters the draft, I know they're committed, but still we actually get the bidding system right. And I don't know whether we've quite got there, but it's heading in the right direction.
But even with the access to academy players, I mean, there are, I want to use the word rorts in this system as well. I mean, a parent of one of these kids may have lived overseas and worked overseas for less than a year at some stage of his or her life, and that allows qualification for a certain academy under certain situations. So that's in play. That's going to happen. Yeah.
Damo, what took place in the Q Clash on Sunday night was so interesting, not just because the Gold Coast, and we'll talk about them, were disappointing, but also what happened with Ashcroft.
Well, it was more what happened in this scratch match at the start of the season, Sam, between these two clubs, where I love the chirp element to the Gold Coast Suns. They were into Ashcroft and others around him in that particular game about maybe the merits of him winning the Norm Smith medal last year in the grand final. And then you get to round 8, it was the pinnacle match of the round and was mooted as a potential game of the year. It was the same old Gold Coast Suns, though. They were just found wanting. And that number, the minus 17, it flattered them. I mean, they were blown away in that game when it really was there to be won. And ultimately, I think there's as many doubts about them in the big picture as there has ever been, despite the good start to the year they had.
I spoke 3 or 4 weeks ago about the Lions needing to be careful of their starts. Well, there's no issues on the other night, Sunday night, last night, because they went after the Suns in a way that I loved. This was ruthless. Maybe you need, as a premiership side, a team like this, Jimmy, to come along and go, you know what, we can't wait to see the Suns and this new team on the rise because it stimulates them, and they went after them.
Yeah, and I think it's a big learning curve for the Suns in particular. It was pretty slippery conditions, it was tough, it was a grind, and it probably taught the Suns that you can't always have it on your terms and you've actually got to change the way you play. And I think the Lions, they came out with the right mindset. They were physical, they knew it was going to be a territory-based game, and some great learnings for the Suns, even for Hardwick and the coaches with Matt Rowell. Like, Dunkley did a fantastic job. How can we manoeuvre some of our midfielders?
Ben King as well.
Ben King,
rough night. Where else can he play if he's not getting on the end of it?
But they were found wanting, though, weren't they? Quite dramatically.
They're a very good side, the Brisbane Lions. They've been in the last 2 grand finals, pretty mature and physical. I think they've lost, but hopefully they've learned a lot out of it.
Geez, the Blues were disappointing, Lordo, on the weekend, weren't they? They had 2 soft wins, and then they had that great performance against Geelong, and you thought, OK, maybe this side has turned a corner, but they were blown away by the Adelaide Crows. And there is a theme developing in Michael Voss's press conferences when they lose.
We always look back at the vision and make sure we get the data and we get the right evidence, and then we put it in front of the players and we put a simple solution forward on it. That's something we're going to have to go and have a bit of a look at and sort of see whether we can, in the fourth quarter, just do that a little bit better. That'll be something that we'll review strongly. We've already had a really honest chat about that within the rooms. We'll look at that pretty closely. Won't be missed, I can tell you that. We'll have to look at it pretty strongly. Enormously disappointed with the performance. But we'll look at it clearly like we have every single week.
Are they reviewing it strongly, Lordo? And if so, which parts are they reviewing strongly?
Well, it depends. Like, I'm only hearing these snippets from you, so you feel like he just rolls out the same lines.
I didn't say that. I just said that there was a theme that was being developed.
Yeah, the theme is sometimes as a coach, I hear Lee Matthews talk about it, he often says it depends who you want to speak to. Are you trying to speak to your players? Are you trying to speak to your fans? I know. Do you know exactly straight after a game? Are you still trying to work through potentially what it was that went wrong?
But that is his job, in fairness.
Yeah.
I mean, we sit here and praise Sam Mitchell, who's been in the job for less time, that he's able to delineate exactly what went right and what went wrong after a game.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking to your members, you're talking to your players.
I'm not sure if he's the type that likes to deliver and say too much compared to other coaches.
I think you're right. Is there more than just the 4 premiership points at stake in this St Kilda and Carlton game? I'm referring to the future of the Carlton ruckman, Tom de Koning, who has a decision to make, and he's been speaking about this decision since the start of the season.
Yeah, I love Carlton. It's a group that I've grown up playing with. Been here obviously since I got drafted, and I feel like I've played a lot of footy with the boys now, and we're really building that connection. There's a lot of talk, but it's good. It's probably good not to read into it, and I don't read into that sort of stuff. I leave that for my manager.
It's always ongoing dialogue. Clearly, he's an important player for us. This group has had a real determination to be able to stick together, and I've got nothing to suggest otherwise than he's fully invested in us.
It's been well known that the Saints are the club heading their list of outsiders interested in his services. And Sam, you happened to come across a very significant meeting, one that intrigued me when I read about this the other day.
Yeah, the Mount Erica Hotel on Friday. I wasn't thinking that I'd walk into a meeting which looked like it was about Tom de Koning. Now,
Good detail there with the wine.
I'm assured that it's not. Paul Connors and Gubby Allen are old mates, but they were sitting with the St Kilda president and a guy by the name of Paul Solomon, who's worth in the hundreds of millions of dollars, who happens to be one of St Kilda's biggest supporters. So it was either a big coincidence.
Were they sitting in a corner table?
No, dead centre. Dead centre.
Just on the Koning situation, you said a couple of weeks ago that you felt that he would be better off choosing the big might of Carlton over St Kilda. Have you changed your views on it?
Well, I think, Damo, surely if he leaves, it's for money. I still stand by that. Like, it's maybe a money offer he can't refuse.
That'd be part of it. They have to be part of it when the money's that different.
Yeah, but aside from that, I just made the point that I'm not sure outside of the money why he would leave Carlton. That's my opinion. I think.
Would Ross Lyon be a lure, do you think?
I think obviously Ross is a fantastic coach, but I think Patrick Cripps, I'm not sure who St Kilda's Patrick Cripps is, who their Charlie Curnow is at this stage.
Jacob Wiedering.
Harry Mackay, Jacob Wiedering, 80 grand at the MCG, but...
And the weird way footy works is the result of this game potentially a swaying outcome for him.
I wouldn't have thought so.
And unfortunately for the Blues, the Crows were just too slick for them. They took it up to them in the contest, but then once the ball got on the outside, gentlemen, they were far too fast, and that's a bit of the MO against the Blues. If you can get it on the outside and speed, and what's impressive about this edit here is this is skinny side football where a lot of sides would just go slow back down the line, but the Crows' intent to keep the ball moving, and you look at all those Carlton players, they're facing the wrong way as far as a defensive group. They're scrambling. This is from stoppage, so they did it on the inside from stoppage and from D50 to forward 50, where they'll pretty much plus 35 points in both of those areas and able to get on the outside on the Blues. Lloydie.
Are you a believer? Because I know Sam's not.
Yeah.
Don't put words in my mouth.
But, no, because you seem to... I can see it in your body language. You seem to... you just don't believe or you roll your eyes occasionally.
Are you going to ask me a question, or are you just going to put words in my mouth?
What do you believe are capable of? Or,
I think they'll play. I think they'll make the 8.
But that's about it?
Yep.
Okay. Not capable of winning a final. What don't you like about them?
I just think they will be found wanting when the whips are cracking in big September matches. I'm just not sure that they have the list to win finals.
I don't think they lack much now at all.
I think they'll be very good against the weaker teams. Jimmy,
yes,
your Giants have looked like a weaker team.
Giants?
Well, previous Giants in recent weeks. Have they lost a bit of their edge, that nastiness that we've come to love under Adam Kingsley?
I think the frustrating thing for Adam Kingsley and the Giants at the moment is they talk about the tsunami, and everyone associates the tsunami with attacking ball movement, but Adam Kingsley often references it in defence and when you're defending the ground. So they've been saved too much over the last 18 months by Jack Buckley and Sam Taylor and even Connor Iden down back. Look at this play from the midfield. I don't think there's a real intent intent from a lot of the Giants players to really want to defend. Watch Caden Cleary here. He's on the far side. You quickly look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Giants just jogging back. And this one here, watch actually behind the ball for the Swans. Is there a real intent here for the Giants to chase down? Himmelberg on the outside, Weir just gives up on it. And Hamling and Francis, no disrespect to those two gentlemen, but Hamling had never kicked a goal in 97 games, and Francis has been in and out of the system for quite some time. They took 7 marks inside forward 50. There's too much of this your turn, our turn, and the Giants are winning on individual talent.
It was the third week in a row of a poor performance that resulted in a loss, though. It's not just in isolation the Sydney Swans game.
Yeah, it's a common theme, and this is how they got beaten in those finals when they coughed up big leads. It's actually the attention to detail. So if you go back and watch the finals against Brisbane and the Sydney Swans in particular, you get that easy release mark on the Giants because they actually don't care about it, and it actually hurts them later down the ground. And like I said, they're being saved by excellent defenders who have highlighted Sam Taylor, and if they get it back, thank goodness for Hogan and Green in their forward line.
Excellent vision that was, Jimmy. In fact, it felt like a mini audition for the Sledgehammer in case you ever decide to take another week off.
He'd be good at it.
He'd be great at it.
That's why I can't take a week off.
We've already taken one, so let's not make it two.